Hey guys, welcome to the third episode of Against All Odds. This is Agustina Pais, and I'm Luis, the host. So Agustina is from Argentina. She moved to the States when she was 5 years old. She's worked at internationally recognized companies like Vogue, Condé Nast, Qatar,
Mm-hmm.
Sotheby's International Realty, and is currently living in Turkey. But we want to take it back to when she was in Georgia. So how in the world did you end up in Dubai, Qatar, and in Turkey? And was it something that you always wanted to do, or is it something that just kind of happened?
I always knew I wanted to leave the US, but I didn't know to where. The Dubai Qatar thing just kind of happened on its own. But originally, actually, I started going abroad during study abroad at Georgia State University.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started my master's in Hong Kong, in SCAD's campus in Hong Kong, when I was 22. And that's when I just left. Just got jobs in Dubai and got jobs in Qatar, amazing jobs, and made it easier to stay abroad.
Was it something that was difficult for you? So you always knew this, like since you were growing up in Woodstock, or
Well,
oh,
having international parents, being an immigrant, going to the US, the early traveling was always there. So going to visit my family in Argentina, then visiting relatives that were abroad in Italy and Russia, for example, travel
mhm.
was always there. So I knew I was going to be leaving at one point, even in the suburbs of Woodstock.
Can you tell me about how life was in the suburbs of Woodstock and how you went from Woodstock to Dubai and you're currently in Istanbul? I don't think many people from Woodstock are living abroad.
No.
Not many. So
It
how
was,
did
I
you,
think,
yeah, how was it?
Woodstock, Freddie. Life in Woodstock was very white, very rural, very suburban. I didn't really have many opportunities besides like living in a trailer park. So I chose to go to university downtown Georgia State, which I don't know, allowed for much more growth. But during the time that I was in Woodstock, it was it was kind of a killer, like especially
Hmm.
being non-white, non-American. Even though I'm a pretty pale girl, I was still very different
Hmm.
to not my coworkers. What is it? My fellow students. So the segregation and the racism and the bullying was always there until I left for college.
So and all the way up to high school, how did you deal with that, cope with that? And would you say was that something that like pushed you to even want to leave more?
Yeah, I think it definitely played a role in me wanting to leave. I was never really unhappy if it wasn't for the time that I had in school. But yeah, I mean, I think the bullying and kind of the harassment got really annoying. So by the time I was 17, I decided to dual enroll. So I
Hmm.
left high school a year earlier and I started Georgia State University when I was 17. So it kind of motivated me to leave even quicker. I knew I would leave,
Hmm.
but it just pushed me to do it faster,
What
to be
did
where, to be
what,
like surrounded with people who actually understood me or that were different, just like me. So
what did your
it was
parents think? Did they
my
were
parents.
they what
They
was it?
were they were very supportive. They were very
Mhm.
supportive about me going to Georgia State University. They were very supportive about me studying in China, then Korea, then going to Hong Kong, and now my lifestyle. They have been fully supportive.
Would you say was there like a shift in your mind that made, or I guess how did you build this confidence to, as a Latina woman, how did you say, I'm done, I'm out of here, I'm just gonna go abroad? And I'm sure you were scared at some
I was
point
scared.
going by yourself, but
I was so
how
scared.
did you
I come
overcome that?
from lower middle class family, so it wasn't really like I had the resources to say fuck it, I'm out. I had
Hmm.
to, do everything on a budget and speak to my parents about what my plans were because I needed their financial support until I was about 20, 21. I needed their to know that they had me, like they could back me up if I needed. So it was something that really involved my parents for many years. And I wasn't really able to say fuck it when I wanted to. I had to take small opportunities like studying abroad and, taking small jobs abroad or something until I discovered what I really wanted to do. So how did it get to the point of me saying fuck it?
Hmm.
I think I think a lot of people don't know that racism truly exists, and I'm an only child to to other immigrants, which were my parents. So
Right.
when I saw the racism going not only to me, but directed to my parents as well, that's when I was like, I deserve better. My parents deserve better. So I said, maybe Georgia is not the place. And it's not. It's still to this day is not.
Mm-hmm. And you ever plan on moving back, or how do you see your life now?
I miss Atlanta a lot when I'm abroad, but every time I go back, it's changing, it's evolving, it's growing, but it's still just after traveling to so many places, I don't think I can ever go back to where I started. I think
How many places have you been to now?
I'm 25
Countries?
and I've been to 25 countries.
25. Nice. What advice would you give? Because there's a lot of women, especially Latino women, that I feel like they're scared to even travel, to do things on their own. What advice would you give them to get to your point where they're like, I'm just gonna move to Europe. I'm gonna move to Dubai. I'm gonna move to wherever I want, and I'm gonna do whatever I want. I think
I've
your
been with
story is
girls.
really inspiring. I mean, you even inspired me to travel. Because
Yay!
like Agustina's doing it, like I can do it too. So
Exactly. There's literally like nothing extraordinary about who I am. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. I think what I needed to hear and what I still need to hear is that everything will always work itself out. You just have to take the first step and know that the rest is going to magically work itself out. If the universe wants you to be in Europe, you'll be in Europe. If it wants you to be in Turkey, you'll be in Turkey, like I am right now.
mhm.
You'll always be guided. So I think that's what I continuously need to tell myself. And what I really should have told myself at 17, 19, 20, 18, which I did tell myself, which is why I was able to do everything. But I had to be constantly reassuring myself that
Trusting the universe, trusting that.
no, I could never, or my parents would never let me, or no, if my dad is not there, I'm not going to go because what would happen if, and I just think life is too short. So I think a lot of the girls and guys never will do anything because they are too scared or they're too comfortable. But the people that want to should know that everything will be okay.
Mm. No, for sure, and definitely something that takes time and takes a lot of, I guess, courage, really. But once you do it, I feel like you realize that you build that up, and then you're like, all right, what can I do next, and whatnot.
Things
And
will
so,
come into play.
mhm. Yeah. So, what are you currently working on now, and what are you doing, and what are your plans for this year and the next few years?
Oh my God. So I decided to stop planning because I was always such a anal planner. So I decided to take this year easy and just see how I feel. Thankfully, I have some time to myself right now where I'm working on my own personal projects, which are very private because I'm still working on them. But I have about 3 personal projects, and this is finally the year to take a step back from school, take a step back from working rigorous hours and saying, okay, these are my savings. This is what I can do to start my projects, or I'm finally in the place I need to be, like Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
to begin these side projects. So this is the year for me and the year for my projects, finally. Like
Awesome.
it's now.
It's awesome. Now, going back to living abroad, did you ever deal with loneliness or feeling like you miss
Always
your
in
family?
every country.
How do
The
you
further I am in time zones, the more nostalgic I get.
really?
Like in Hong Kong, it was 12-hour, 13-hour difference with my mom and dad. And I speak to my parents every day. And with the time difference being 12, 13 hours, like how do you find time to say hello to your mom and catch them or your dad, and catch them at the right time before they go to work or before you start your classes, before you start your day, before you sleep, before they sleep. It was really tough. Like now I'm 9 hours ahead and I still think it's a little tough to coordinate time, but I'm
Mhm.
okay because, in the morning I catch them or they're still before they go to bed and it's fine. Being 12, 13 hours away,
Really hard.
it was so hard because it was the loneliest, because like all the world, even you're at the same time difference. So we wouldn't have time to talk. And that's
Right.
like my root, if I don't talk to my parents or my best friends, and then it's tough.
What was the hardest thing before moving abroad? Like the hardest thing you had to overcome? Was it like something financial? What was it that you had to overcome to move abroad?
I think the financial, I think at first it was reassuring myself that my savings would be enough, and then that if I ever needed anything, that my parents would be there. It was just constantly being in communication with my mom and dad and being honest and saying, all right, guys, I made it to Hong Kong, but I only have like, I don't know, $100 for this week as a student. If
Right.
I need $50 extra, I just want to make sure that you guys fully support me. And they would say, of course, we totally support you if you need anything. But it was taking that leap forward, knowing that I could support myself until I found a job, until I finished my degree. It's tough. Like, you get so comfortable at home living with your mom and dad, or living in your own city, in your own country, and then making that jump where everything's so uncertain and you're still learning the language, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that easy.
How'd you get so trusting? How'd you become to trust so much in the sense like the universe, or trusting the process, trusting that everything would work out without knowing everything that was going to happen? How did you become? I guess would you consider yourself spiritual?
Very spiritual. I read a lot of self-help books in my early teens, late teens, and early 20s, and I actually still do. But I think those kinds of books really motivated me and inspired me, to
Did
be
did you
trusting.
did you get into those books because you were dealing with a lot of as in part bullying and maybe difficulties at home, or
Yes.
was it just yeah? Could
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about
I
that
think
and
like,
how that helped you during that time?
like the year when I was about 13, 14, just people got worse and worse every year. Like, no matter how much I grew, like literally, like the white kids, for example, in school never really got any better. They just kept getting more and more ignorant. And I didn't have the option of changing middle schools or high schools. I just had to deal with it until I was old enough to go to university. But I was
Mm-hmm.
reading a lot of books telling me not to internalize that and not to take it all personal. These people were just dealing with their own hate. So a lot of it was learning that none of it was against me, or Mexican students near me, that also face the same type of racism and stuff. That it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with them only. So yeah, so I started at about 13, 14, reading books like The Law of Attraction, The Four Agreements,
At
learning that
13, 14, who introduced you to this? Like, how did you find out about this?
my mom did. My mom was always very spiritual, and she always
Mm.
gave me tools to move on and to be better than I was yesterday. Oh, that's cute, right?
Kind of, yeah.
I don't want to cry.
Yeah, don't cry on, please don't cry. Um, that's amazing that you got into those books at such an early age. Most people don't start reading those until like in the I would say 20s, mid 20s, getting
Like
into this. But it sounds like you've been
hmm
because of like pain, you started reading these things early on in age. Um,
Yeah.
and would you say, does that still these things still affect you now, or do you feel like you've kind of overcome them, or
I
are there
think
things that you still carry on because of that, or
I think
related
it
things?
also grew with me because it was something that was so deep, especially when you're a child growing up, like you have no reason to go through any of those things. But I did. So, especially going abroad and seeing that so many people are so different, when I see
Mm,
somebody like a little girl or a young boy, not necessarily like 5, 10 years old, but somebody even 20 that's just making the change to move somewhere abroad, a person has to have a lot of balls to do that. So I
mm,
sympathize a lot. And I think that's the best gift, that I can relate to them, relate to anyone. I can relate to anyone because everyone's so different. So I can go to Hong Kong and relate to an Asian. I can go here and relate to Americans that are living here, or Kurds that are living in Turkey. I don't know, anything. I don't know.
mm.
So
Would you
that was
yeah, would you say that living abroad should be something that everyone does at least once in their life?
I don't think it's for everyone.
No.
I think some people are really comfortable with their lives and they shouldn't be forced to try new things. I've met a lot of people here in Turkey as well that say, Istanbul is the greatest city in the world. And I agree, but I would never want to live anywhere else.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, why don't you give another city a chance? And they say, I don't want to. I have everything. I have everything I want. I have my family. This is a city with so much opportunity, so much growth, so much everything, that I don't have the need to, besides traveling for a few weeks.
Hmm.
And I respect that. So I don't think traveling abroad or living abroad is for everyone.
For everyone, but definitely traveling.
Of course.
Hmm. Would you say, I don't know, I think we talked about this before, but I feel like part of the reason where I started traveling, or I wanted to get to know other places, was because I felt out of place here as well. And I just didn't feel, I guess, happy. And I know I also had like a tough upbringing that kind of made me want to leave. And in the beginning, but then later on, it just became more of like a passion. Would you say that happened to you as well, or was just
Kind of.
or not so
No,
much?
because I was out of place, and and again, also traveling early though, from the age that I was 12, 13, 14, going to places like Italy, like Russia, kind of opened my eyes. So then I was like, there's a whole other world. What am I doing? So aside from being out of place, I was also encouraged by my parents to travel to Argentina every year, to travel to different places. So it wasn't like it was so difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What advice would you give to younger people that kind of I went through what you went through, the similar things that you struggled with, as and even in particular as a Latina woman in America? What advice would you give them if
Difficult, because so many things that I wish I would tell myself, like, know that everything's gonna be okay. Younger me would have been like, fuck off, because you still have to go through it, And I can tell you to read like all the self-help books, but you still have to go through it. And a lot of times I had lunch in the fucking bathrooms. Like I had lunch alone in the public, in like the bathroom stalls in school, because having lunch by myself in the bathroom was better than going to like the white table or the black table or the Mexican table, because I was not Mexican. I'm Latina, but I'm not Mexican.
Right.
Mexicans are racist too. I was not black, and I was also not white. So I didn't fit into any of these. So literally having lunch with myself was probably the best thing. My only option. So fuck, what would be my advice? I think just do what you have to do to change your circumstance. Like, I left early. I left a year early. As soon as I could, I left. I didn't stick it out until my last year of high school. I left early. But you can always do something today to improve your tomorrow. I was learning another language from that time too, from the time I was 12, 13, because I was like, when I'm out of here, I need to be ready. I have to be ready. Whether it's like France or Brazil or anywhere, like you have to be ready.
And you were.
At least something you could do.
Did you, throughout that time, were you just like on a daily basis, just thinking positively, not trying to be as optimistic as you were, even though it was...
I was actually planning my trips. I remember being like...
You were planning? Okay.
Yeah, I was watching like Anthony Bourdain, I remember. And then I would sit during my lunch hours or my like recess hours, and I would plan what I would do on my first day. And I didn't even have a plane ticket to this place. I was just like, okay, I'm going to Istanbul one day, and this is what I'm going to do. And, this is what I'm going to eat. And all those things that I wrote, I did all of it. So
literally all.
Literally.
Could you name the top 3 things that you did, that you wrote down and that you did, that you...
Yes. I had a mortadella sandwich in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I had laksa in Singapore, which was one of my dreams. What else? I saw the towers, the Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur. What the hell? I did all.
Yeah. Did you know, can you explain to the people that may not understand, like, how this, I guess, works? Or did you just believe it? Did you visualize this, or is this just something you wrote down, right? I know you journaled a lot.
I used to, well, I still do. I wrote down everything I wanted, like exactly the way I wanted it. I knew the countries, I knew what I would do. And it also got to the point where I started buying my outfits. I remember I was like 15, 16, and I started buying outfits that I knew I would wear to each different city. So I had like different sections in my closet. Pretty psycho, right? I had different sections in my closet.
Yeah.
So, like, leggings I would wear in Singapore. I had different leggings I wanted to wear in Brazil. A different shirt I wanted to wear in Argentina and Buenos Aires. I don't know, stuff like this. So I always had like little piles of clothes that I was collecting for each different trip.
But you were already like seeing it, manifesting it before it even happening.
I always knew it would happen, but I always felt it would happen. So, I mean, I guess I truly believed it. And I was like, somehow it's going to happen. I don't know how.
And did you do that because you knew it was going to happen? It was just a matter of time, and then you just wanted to speak it into existence.
I wanted to be ready.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm blessed.
Very blessed. I think you have a really good way of thinking, and I feel and I think I pretty much, from knowing you, you've done pretty much everything that you've ever wanted to do, and that's something that I admire, and that you do it on a consistent basis. You just
Yeah.
And
Take
anything
the
new
leap.
comes up, you just do it. You don't really think so much about it. Even if you're scared, even though you're not sure how you're gonna do it, you just do it.
The
So
other day, I was talking
I
to my mom about one of these personal projects, and I gave her like the whole idea, and I said, "Fuck, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have the balls to do it." And she said, "Of course you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it in the next 2 months." And I said, "I don't know. How do you know?" She's like, "Literally everything you wanted to do, you've done." And I was like, "Oh, you're right." She's like, "You've done everything you've ever said you were gonna do." And I was like, "Sure, you're right." So that's why I'm like convinced that this fucking project's it's gonna happen. I don't know how, but it's gonna happen. It's nice, right?
yeah, but
Like I
I
believe it. I believe, therefore I am, right? Something like that.
think it's like
Is
that.
it like
Yeah.
that? What is the thing?
Well,
What's the phrase?
I am there. No, it's something like
I
that.
think, therefore I am. There we go.
Yeah, yeah, I think something
I
like that.
am, therefore I think.
Hey, close enough.
I am, therefore I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. All right, so I'm gonna ask you this final question,
Yay.
all right? And then you can answer it in one word or in one phrase, one sentence, however you like. And the question is, if you had one day left to live, you knew you were gonna die in 24 hours, what would you do?
What the fuck? I would probably eat my favorite food.
Which is
Shit, I have many, so it depends on where I am in the world.
you have 24 hours.
Well, what city am I in?
You're in Istanbul.
Okay, I would go by myself. Everything I want, I would max out my credit card. I would buy myself a Chanel bag, and then I would go eat a 10 lira like doner, which is like kebab, for example, and that's it. Then
Okay.
I would die with a kebab in my stomach and a Chanel bag
And
on
happy.
me.
All right, and I actually have one more
What
question.
the fuck? Okay.
You inspired me to ask another question. Um, how do you want
Why
to
a
be?
Chanel bag?
No, no. Why not? Yeah, because you already have a what bag do you have a duo? How do you say it? Duar?
Dior.
Your one day I'll
I
get it
have a
right.
door
Why
bag.
don't you get another one of those?
I already got one.
True, true, true. Okay, what do you want to be remembered for? Like the day that you get old, hopefully get to that age, and you're dying. What do you want people to remember you for? What is
One of my personal projects, and for being real, for not being a bullshitter.
for being real?
Hmm.
I,
For not
I,
bullshitting anything or anyone.
I love that. I love that. For being
I
real,
hope people can say, "Fuck, she was such an asshole,
but she
but
was
she
so
was
real.
honest and real."
So real. 100%. I agree completely that you
You
have
think I'm real?
always been real since day one. We met in Portuguese class freshman year, and she was real from day one.
Oh my
Um,
God, I remember.
so I hope that you continue to be real, and I'm sure that you will. And thanks for coming on the show. And yeah,
Thank
and
you for bringing me on again.
if do you have any like places that you want people to follow you at, or do you have a website up for your projects or anything like that?
Nope, private as
That
fuck.
what was that?
Private as fuck.
Everything's
I
private.
learned my lesson. That's
Okay.
another advice I have for girls. Don't make your Instagram public. You'll get a lot of stalkers.
Okay. So right now it's on. You don't want people following you or anything like
Yeah,
that. Okay. Cool. Well, in the future, if you do, in any case, I'll put
look
the
for that
link
shit.
down once you have
You'll put that link down. Can you do
your
that, please?
your project. We'll put it in the
Okay.
description below once she has something up, so you can follow her.
Once she has something concrete, it's not an
So you
idea.
yeah, so you can follow her, talk to her. If because a lot of people that hopefully people that are watching, that are inspired by you, maybe they may want to be reach out to you. Maybe they're women. Would you like them to reach out? I could put in
Sure.
your email at least, or what do you?
Sure. I'll put my email.
Okay, I'll put your email in the description so that people can reach out to you if they have any questions or they want to learn more about
Perfect.
your travels or your careers and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Agus. And
Thank
yeah.
you, Luis.
Yeah, you have a good night in Istanbul.
You have an amazing night
All
in ATL.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.